Hey, welcome back to another episode of The Drunken Cryptid.
Was these two globes. I don't know how to describe them. And I stood up there and looked at them, and it's like...
I just couldn't hold it anymore, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was a chupacabra. I was so excited.
They were referring to Bigfoot.
There are voices in the darkness.
Reason why the show is called Drunken Cryptid.
And welcome back to another episode of The Drunken Cryptids. I'm your host, Matthew Orton. And I do want to give a shout out real quick to Dylan over there at blademedia.com. Dylan, thank you for the graphic. Thank you for the website. You guys, Blade Media did the graphic for us for our logo. And they also built the website. If you want an example of what Blade Media can do, please go check out their website, blademedia.com. That's Blade, B-L-A-Y-E-D, media.com. So go give them a shout out. Thank you, Dylan. I appreciate everything you've done. And of course, special shout out to the team. I don't do this by myself. I have a good team that supports me and surrounds me. So I definitely want to give a shout out to you guys. As always, I mean, I'm not where I'm at, because of me. It's because of the team that I have around me. So thank you again. Appreciate it. All right. Shows coming up. We do have on January 14th, we are going to be at the Censored Monkey from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Come on out, meet us. We'll have the equipment. We can record some of your encounters. There's some folks that are reaching out to us are going to meet us up there. So come out, join us. We'll have a good time. It is a 21 and only establishment, though, so you got to bear that in mind. Sorry, kids. On February 8th, we are going to be at the Paradise Pizza in Ozark, Arkansas. That's from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Again, February 8th, Ozark, Arkansas, Paradise Pizza, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. We're going to be doing an open town hall meeting with Todd Neese, good friend of mine. Great guy. You get a chance to come meet him, ask questions to myself, to Todd. It'll be hosted by the Arkansas Bigfoot Cartel, who will also be doing some expeditions that weekend. So if you want more information on that, go ahead, email me again, message me again, drunkencryptids@gmail.com. The big news is April 5th, live show with the Cryptids of the Corn guys. That's right. They're going to come down here to Arkansas. We're going to be at Old Bart's, 600 North Main Street in North Little Rock from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. That's on April 5th. Tickets are for sale. This is a ticket event, you guys, so limited seating, limited availability. I'll be recording for an hour. They're going to be recording for an hour. I know what Justin and Jay are going to be talking about. I know what I'm going to be talking about. It's going to be a good time, you guys. You get a chance to meet and greet with us, ask us questions. With a live show, we get a chance to kind of show pictures, versus like a radio show, how you just hear us talk, we describe it. We get a chance to show pictures. We'll be sharing everything that we've been doing, what we've been up to. It's going to be a lot of fun. You get a chance to meet and greet with us. Old Bart's is going to have a full menu available, including the Drunken Cryptid Burger, which is an amazing burger. Paul, I love it over there. Thanks, man. That's on April 5th, though. The ticket information is available on the website. It's on our website. It's on the Cryptids of Corn website, and it's going to be in the description of the show below. So please make sure that if you want to join in, great. Get your tickets before they go because they are selling. If you are coming from out of town, go ahead, message me. I can help you get good hotels in the area close by. That way, you know where it's at, and you get a chance to hang out with us. I'm not gonna lie, we're gonna visit with you guys. The show's about y'all, so come out, hang out with us, and join in. And of course, you guys, I appreciate all the support. Keep liking, keep sharing. It means a lot to me. Keep commenting. If there's an episode you like, great. Drop a comment. Hey, I love this show. If you don't like it, well, don't comment. I mean, the world's full of trolls. It really is. Not as mean as there used to be. But go ahead, like, comment, share. I appreciate all the 5-star reviews, you guys. I really do. The more comments we get, the more that we get out there in the algorithm, and that helps the show grow, and it can reach some other people who are trying to maybe get some encounters, they feel lost about. So this does help folks out. So the more you like it, the more you share it, more people get out there. So I appreciate it. But again, if you've had an encounter and you want to talk about it, email me, drunkencryptist@gmail.com. And follow us on all your social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, X. We are everywhere. So appreciate it. But now, on to the show. Hey, everybody. All right. I got a good show for us this evening. I got a wonderful guest. She's coming on all the way from one of my favorite places, Pittsburgh. I am a diehard Steeler fan, if you guys haven't figured it out already. So I'm pretty excited that I actually get somebody from Pittsburgh on the show. Unfortunately, I'm not from Pittsburgh. I'm from Utah. If you listen to the show for a while, you already gathered that. But, Marita, how are you tonight?
Very good. How are you doing?
Good. What is the weather like in Pittsburgh?
Actually, it's about 30 degrees, and we had a little bit of a snow dusting this morning.
What's the forecast supposed to be like for the game on Sunday? I didn't look for y'all's forecast.
You know what? I didn't check. Sorry.
Because we're playing Cleveland again this Sunday, podcast time travel. So this will air after the game, but we just got beat by them pretty bad, unfortunately, in Cleveland in the snow, and that was kind of embarrassing. So I'm really hoping there's no snow for this game.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, like I said, big fan. Yeah, hopefully no snow. But yeah, you're about like 8 degrees right now, colder than we are down here in Arkansas.
That 8 degrees makes a big difference, too.
It does. A lot of people don't realize that, but it really, really does. So, but Marita, thank you for coming on the show. I just want to say that right up front. I do appreciate you coming on. I know you and me had a chance to talk a little bit yesterday. I kind of wanted to be, I don't like to really have everything up front of knowledge-wise, but you did give me some good information and, some, what we're going to be talking about. So I'm real excited and curious to see how the show goes tonight.
I am too. This is my first podcast, so I am just elated to be a part of this, and it gives me a chance to get out there a little bit more.
It does, and I think this will help you out, and we'll talk more about that as we go into the show for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So, but real quick, everybody out there, Marita is actually a psychic. She's a medium. And there's a lot of other skills that she has. And I'm just going to let her take it, here in a minute, because we have a lot to unpack tonight. And I'm ready to unpack it. But so Marita, first question I have for you is this. And and it's like I have the same question I would have for any other. So about what age did you realize that I don't know, you were psychic or there was something different what happened?
Well, okay. I will say that it ran in my family. I had a grandmother that did dreams, and I swear I never heard of anybody who had dreams like she did. It was almost like a motion picture. And she would the dead would actually come to her. I know we didn't discuss that yesterday, but
no, we did not. So hold on. Okay, so when you say it ran in the family, real quick, so you said your grandmother, did your mom have it as well?
My mother did, but my mother was the one that saw ghosts.
Okay, so grandma saw dreams.
Yes.
And mom saw. Okay, all right, let's go. Okay, so this is cool.
I'm a combination.
Oh, we gotta get out here in a second. Okay, so all right. So now, did your your great grandma? Did she go through? Do you know?
I don't know. I suspect actually that she did tea leaves, and that kind of came to me when I actually probably about 4 or 5 years ago I connected with her. And how I say that is she made herself known to me. It's just things started to pop up that had association with her. Stories. I found a picture of her, just really, like some people may say, well, weird coincidences in what I do. And for as long as I've been doing it, I don't believe in coincidences anymore. What I believe in is the fact that spirit wants you to know it. So they communicate it to you.
Okay. And that was coming from, you were getting that from your great grandma, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So ran the family. So grandma saw dreams, like moving pictures, and then you said your mom saw actual.
Ghosts.
I hate saying it, but I have to do
Sure.
this. I have to do the sixth sense thing. So your mom saw dead people.
Yes.
Okay, I had to throw that in there. Sorry, I may throw that in there a few times. It's just my sense of humor, so I apologize.
That's okay.
All right. Okay, so we'll go from there. Okay, so everybody's in the family's having this stuff. Grandma, mom, did they teach you this? I mean, were you raised this way?
Well, I was raised Catholic. Similar, like with the way the Mormons are, they're somewhat strict about certain things. When I was growing up, I guess you could say, once I became old enough to kind of go into that, so probably the 70s, which was a real turn for metaphysics to begin with. It was more recognized and accepted at that point. My mom was also into astrology, things like that. And so it was around me. But my mom wasn't church going at that point, but my grandmother was. My grandmother and grandfather were. But even being in an Italian family, there's so many traditions or superstitions that a lot of times come with it. And, I would hear them say things or, I had my other grandmother, she used to do stuff like if we dropped salt on the table, we had to hurry up and pick it up and throw it over our right shoulder because we didn't want bad luck. So I guess you could say I was around a lot of that growing up. But probably once I got into my teen years, it was more or less something that I became aware of. Certain times of the year, the fall, sometimes even in the spring. And if I fast forward real quick to that, in some of the training and teaching that I did, probably in the last 15, 20 years, I had a better understanding as to why that would happen. And for those that are that follow any type of the craft or into the metaphysics, and some people follow moon cycles, things like that. It is because they more or less describe it as the veil is thinner. Usually October is a time period where the veil becomes thinner. Representations of that come with Halloween, or in the pagan community, in witch community, it's more Samhain, because Samhain is the first holiday of the wheel, according to the Wiccan religion, which is actually the religion part of the craft. So, and then May 1st, which is their other holiday, is Beltane. And again, that is when the veil is thin as well. So I noticed, I guess as a teenager, without knowing that knowledge that I do now know, that's when my tendencies of being prolific, dreams, or just kind of having the feeling that I know something's going to happen would pop up. So that's probably where I could say that's where it started.
So about your early teens, and so, don't be a little bit of adultish here for a minute, but I guess about time of going through puberty.
Yes, and puberty is a big time for a lot of people, especially the teenagers here at this point that are sensitive to begin with, because the hormones and everything are much more heightened, male and female. And because it's more recognized now, again, that's when I've had a lot more people come to me for that. They'll say something about their either their kids or that's something that, they get these weird vibes, or their daughter or son can't sleep because they see things in their rooms, different things like that. The other thing is that I would say in the last 20 years, the children that are coming into our world now are far more educated I say it's in their genes, where a lot of us had to work for what we do now. They're born with it. So they're more sensitive. I've had people approach me, and I've asked the question too to clients, even like 1-year-olds, 2-year-olds that have had the family members have, like the grandparents may have passed, and the child's in the room playing, and there's pictures of them, and the little ones are sitting there communicating with them, talking. And once they are making noises or playing in the air with something that's not there to our sight, physical sight. So,
well, on that note, real quick,
okay.
I hate to interrupt you, but it has been a lot more reports of this taking place within the past 20 years. And I think I think this is a phenomenon that's been happening anyways prior to, but with the internet now, since you did mention, 20 years, with the internet taking place, the internet being as large it is now, there's more information being put out there. More encounters are being put out there. More stories are being put out there, this stuff. So I think it's always been there. It's just like with the Sasquatch sightings and such. They've always been there. I mean, there seems to be huge numbers now, but that is because the fact that we're able to track them easier, catalog them easier, and have them down, and we can have information. I mean, something can happen in Nepal, and within a matter of minutes, we'll know about it. It's where before it was maybe a newspaper article or somebody told somebody that told somebody, it had to get passed down. So right. I think that a lot of this is like you said, people are being born smarter, and to a point I agree with that. But I also think if you look back in generation wise, I remember as a kid, we would have the CD players and the big tall ones I'm talking about. You remember the big speakers and everything?
Yes.
Yeah. And, I had to help my dad do it all the time. Set it up, plug it in, how to record, how to do this, how to do that. And and I was a teenager and I just kind of knew how to do it. Now with my phone, I have to go to my daughter and go, hey, what am I doing with my phone?
I do that.
So and and people are younger than me. I can say, hey, what are you doing with your phone? And so, I'm sure my phone does like a million things, and I'm happy I can get it to do 10.
Hear you on that one.
Exactly. So to a point, I do think that it is. I wouldn't say they're being a little bit more. This is just my opinion. Not being more smart. I think just being born a little bit more aware of the time.
Yeah,
and I think that it's on a subconscious, on a spiritual level. When they're being born, they're being born into this world already. And part of that ties in. I remember being a kid, I was a Star Wars fan.
Me too.
And I remember thinking to myself, how do they go to school to learn how to fly like all these spaceships and how to do this and how to do that? And if they're born in that time with that already happening, they're going to have some of that preconceived information and knowledge already.
Correct. Yes.
So, I mean, if you look back in time, they would talk about, when little Johnny was born, he just seemed to be like a natural farmer. Because that's what born at that time in that environment. So, and then on the, with the psychic side, when you're talking about puberty, when you went through it and other people are puberty throughout history and cultures has always been like a rite of passage.
Yes.
Of a transformation. And it seems like, they knew this, that, going through puberty was I'm having a hard time saying that word for some reason, but going through, so hopefully I don't have to say too much more, but going through, puberty, it was a rite of passage. They knew, they just knew this transformation was taking place for them. So that's why when you mentioned, when you were going your early teens and I brought it up, I was curious about that. And, on that note too, though, not to get side-railed, but just, for the audience sake and something to think about, do you notice how puberty seems to be starting younger for these kids now?
Yes.
Okay, just throwing that out there.
Yes.
All right, so go ahead. So you started having these issues when you're, but not issues, but you started to realize what was going on. Did you go to your mom about it? I mean, I mean,
She actually was starting to see it herself. It's funny because, like I said, with her, she was a little different when it came to following the normal traditions. She was into the metaphysics. She was into astrology a lot. So it was always around me. And for the most part, there was actually opportunities that I would go. Like there was this really popular bookstore in Pittsburgh. It was called, now I'm going to forget oh man, I can't think of it now.
that's okay.
Yeah. But anyhow, I used to go with her on Saturday afternoons. Oh, it's called The Sign of Aquarius. It's no longer in Pittsburgh any longer. But I used to spend hours while she was looking at astrology books. I had a little special corner that I would go in and, find books. And actually, one of my first loves, even before some of this, was I was into the ancient Egyptians. And so the Book of the Dead, all the hieroglyphics, I was into a lot of that. I actually read Chariots of the Gods.
Great book. I'm not going to lie. That's actually a really good book that kind of opened the door for a lot of the ancient aliens theories and such.
Yes.
So, but I'm with you on that one. Ancient Egypt has always been a fascination for me as well, even as a kid. And, I was digging into it so much as I was digging into more of the cryptid side and the paranormal side.
Yeah. And so when I started to get a little bit older with all this stuff and it would happen, I would mention it. And then, like I said, I had my grandmother that was influenced by the dreams. And, there was always talk too that, we don't dream in color. Well, for me, I always dreamt in color. And so did she. And then when she would talk about how she would always know if somebody was passing away.
Okay, now I dream in color.
Yeah. And supposedly it's a psychic thing. And your morning dreams are supposed to be where your psychic ability is the most.
Well, let me ask you a question real quick then about the dreaming in color thing, because most of my dreams are, vivid color. Mm-hmm. And I'll have some that are black and white.
Yes.
But I would say about 90% of the dreams that I do have are in color.
Okay.
It's like a Jimmy Johnson song there. Should have seen it in color. But no, my dreams really are. I mean, I do have, my dreams are in color.
Okay.
Because I'll talk about, I saw this, this was red and that was blue and that was green. I go, when I just, relive my dreams, I see the color.
Right. And for you, I would pay attention to that, because if you're doing that or you have dreams a lot, I would probably do what they call a dream journal, because I tell a lot of my clients that when you're getting dreams like that, or, you're getting a lot of detail in your dreams, it is actually a form of clairvoyance, sight.
Yeah, I have this all the time.
Okay. So there's messages a lot of times that you may be getting. And if you're somebody too that may have repetitive dreams or partial repetitives that work into your other dreams,
I've had
then
those.
you're getting a download of messages.
I've had those.
Okay. So, so you want to pay attention to those, because it could be guides, loved ones, if you believe in angels, all of that falls under that same spiritual umbrella. So there's communication, divine communication, if that's what you want to call it. I go by divine, but you could call it whatever, spiritual. Something is trying to get your attention. Well,
this has been happening like most of my life that I can look back on.
Okay.
I mean, even as a kid, I had vivid dreams. I just I talked about I think this was on either on a Patreon episode or it was on a regular episode. I can't remember. I want to say I was talking to Jacob about it. Mm-hmm. And Yeah, I did. Yeah, we were talking. No, it was not a Patreon episode. It was about talking about haunted houses and such. And you know,
Okay.
after we left this one haunted house as a kid, I would dream about the house to a point, but I would also have crazy, weird, vivid dreams
Okay.
as a kid. And I'm talking like, you know, I'm in like second grade, second
Yeah.
grade. I'm dreaming
I
of
do that too.
I'm fighting with Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman, and as like a normal kid dream would be like, but
Right.
then would take this really dark twist to
Mhm.
where like the Penguin was actually evil. And I remember being more in my dreams, being more afraid of the Penguin than the Joker.
Okay.
You know, but I remember at one point there was like, you know, killing people. And again, I'm second grade. My parents
Right.
I wasn't exposed to this stuff as a kid.
Mhm.
You know, but in my dreams I'm watching like, you know, these superheroes getting killed. And I remember like me and Batman having to bust out of like this warehouse window and trying to rescue, you know, Wonder Woman
Okay.
of all things, you know. And I was never, I'll be honest with you, I was a Star Wars kid. I wasn't into like the superheroes.
Okay.
You know, I wasn't into comic books at all. I enjoy the movies now as an
Yes.
adult. You know, when the Batman movie came out with Michael Keaton, you know, yeah, I was about that.
Yes.
But before that, I knew of them. I couldn't tell you who anybody was. You know, you see the Spider-Man cartoon and a Batman cartoon every now and then, but that just wasn't my thing.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I mean, well, I'm just like as a kid, I'd have dreams like that, and it would be in color.
Okay. Yeah. So you've had the abilities. You're born with them. I tell most people we all have a form of the psychic part of us is all part of our makeup. It is how we tap into it. Sometimes, you know, like if your family is more open to it or you are more aware, it could be something that will be with you all the time. I've had people in some cases that because of religion, that was something that was frowned upon. So it was not something that was discussed. So when these things would happen, it was either they didn't talk about it or, you know, the parents weren't one to make them talk about it. So it got covered up. But I tell people mostly, especially ones that I've had in front of me when I'm doing readings and having my sessions with them, because I've had some of those say, I'm afraid of it. And I said, well, you know, when did this start? So a lot of times it starts in their teens. Some of them they were aware of it even when they were younger than teens. And some will agree to find out about it, read about it, talk to somebody about it. Others won't. But in my dealings, I've had people that are petrified of it and they hide it or they do things that they don't want to discuss it. They want to block it. They want to do all this stuff. And I said, well, that is fine to some degree, because depending on your degree of your abilities, at some point you are going to have to deal with it because it's going to bother you again like it did when you were younger. And I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not a psychologist or psychiatrist, but in my own, in my own personal experiences, I've seen where people have actually had physical illnesses or sicknesses that because they blocked it, it affected them internally. So what I do now is when I have had that approached to me by clients, I have a book that I actually use as a tool from, and I've actually read it many times, and I've actually met the author over the phone. And we've had different dealings with even some of my experiences and level of degrees where I guess I've jumped again, with different other abilities. They, like we talked yesterday, I tend to peel off like an onion, another thing happens. But
yeah, I'm the same way. I'm on the Shrek one on that one. There's like layers of Matthew are like an onion, not like a cake, but an onion.
Right. I use the onion terminology.
But
People
I like onions though. I'm not gonna lie, I really do. Sauteed onions, raw onions, fried onions. Man, I'm all about the onions. I want onions on almost everything.
Uh-huh. So the book I use to give them. If I don't have the book with me, I will pull it up on my phone, and it's called The Awakened Psychic, and the author is Kayla Ambrose, and she has other books out, even about auras and dreams and all kinds of things. Very cool lady to talk with. She does all kinds of classes and everything else. Very informative. Her books, and especially this one, is a very easy read, and she will go through what a clairvoyant is. She'll describe to you some of the things that you may encounter, like your dreams being very vivid, or what prolific is. Sometimes people that dream of something that may happen the next day down the road, but it happens. It's like watching it come over. The other thing is clairaudient. Clairaudient is a person that can hear, may hear a whisper, may hear a word. You have the empath, that a lot of us start out being an empath, and that is about sensing. Sometimes going into a crowd, a lot of people can't handle crowds. They get very anxious, claustrophobic, because they sense the energy. There's too much going on in that mix, and they have to leave. There's all kinds of different.
Now that happens to me a lot, but I've always put that off on PTSD.
Yeah, and in those of us like yourself that deal with PTSD, I do myself, based on an accident I was in. There, that does play a little bit more on us because we're more sensitive to that. So the nerves or the emotional part of the brain really gets triggered. So that's why when I've had people in front of me say that sorry about that.
That's all right. That wasn't me. So
that was me.
You have to buy the next round of beer.
So when I have people that have approached me with this, I will be able to say to them what I've just said to you about the anxiousness, about what a PTSD will do and how it affects your brain and causes the anxiousness, the jitteriness, the sometimes paranoid feelings, or the hypersensitiveness of your feelings. That's where I will say to them, this book gives you a lot of ideas. She gives exercises on how to do it, how to deal with it.
Well, let's say the name of the book again real quick so everybody listening. What was the name of the book again?
The Awakened Psychic. And it's by Kayla Ambrose.
Hang on a second. The Awakened
Psychic.
I'm making my notes. And he says by Kayla Ambrose?
Ambrose. Yes.
Ambrose?
Correct.
Look at me spell. Not bad for an old grunt.
Awesome. You are just awesome there.
Let's not push the ego too much here. So, okay, so let me circle back all the way back again because I took you way off track, and I apologize for that. And I'm known to do that. And John, if you're listening, you know what I'm talking about. Well, hopefully, John, you're listening. But so Grandma was talking about dreaming in color. You dream in color. Mm-hmm. Mom was catching on to this stuff at this point in time. I mean, were you saying things? I did. Because I'm just kind of curious to see how this went down. Just walk out in the kitchen one morning and Mom's having coffee and he went, "Hey, I'm psychic. What's up?"
Well, I think she started to see it in me. But I think, too, another thing was, as a child, I did what they call astro traveling. And so, like you were talking about having your dreams and Batman would show up in it and, and all of a sudden.
Okay, now that was as a kid. I'll be honest with you, as I got older, it went into a totally different direction to where it was me somewhere else.
Yeah.
The dreams were me somewhere else, in a totally different dimension. And I would have people there, and sometimes I'd recognize them, but most of the time I did not.
Okay.
And it was, they knew me. Mm-hmm. But the ironic part is I never remember hearing my name being spoken. Mm-hmm. I never remember nobody saying, "Hey, Matt," or nothing at all remotely close to that. But
Mm-hmm.
the dreams that I would have, and I'll talk to you about it off air, to be honest with you,
Okay.
because I don't want to freak the audience out. Because when I look back on it, there are some events that lead up to certain things that happen, transpire with the dreams and such, everything kind of going on.
Right.
But yeah, so okay, so I apologize about that. But okay, so carry on.
Yeah, so a lot of that is considered too to be astro traveling, where you're hitting dimensions and things like that. Um, I guess for me, I was doing it as a child, and when I was, like I said, years later, when I was doing more in the way of learning different things about the metaphysics, and that was a subject I came across. I was told by an instructor that that's probably not real safe for a kid to do, because you know how we talk about the cord that, when we go into our dreams, there's a ethereal cord that's attached to the soul. And so, as children,
Well, they talk about that too with astral projection, that you do have a cord that ties you to your physical, that ties you back to your physical body.
Yes. And as a child, you don't really have understanding of boundaries and how far you can go. So you're fearless, and you're that way in your dreams too. So, one of the tales would be, well, you have to watch you don't break that cord, because if you would die in your sleep. And I never believed that as a kid anyhow. And when I heard it, it was like, really? I did that all the time up until, XYZ, when I didn't do that anymore. So, in getting back to some of this stuff that, like you were talking about, how you remember some of these dreams, or even getting back to where, I've had people tell me that they're afraid of even their dreams or seeing things. It's this book helps to kind of tie things together, and really, it helps you work with your abilities, because a lot of people think, or have thought in the past, I think it's a little bit more, it's become more acceptable now, in our society today, that this is a more open subject. But before, like in my day growing up and things like that, people looked at you like you had three heads, or, there's something wrong with your child, maybe you ought to take them to a doctor or something like that. So that subject people were afraid of, so.
Well, I mean, even biblically, they'll be honest with you, psychics were referenced into the Old Testament and such,
right?
But they weren't called psychics, obviously. The seers, mystics, stuff like that.
Right.
They've been known as, medicine people, witch doctors. Every culture had, like in a village, they had somebody
Yes.
that was, all the way through, even with the Native Americans, with the medicine men, medicine women, who knew this stuff, and the storytellers, and that would pass it down, and just how it was, and to a point. In all honesty, a lot of this gets away from us, and it ties into a lot of what I actually talked about today on the show with Patrick and the People. Is that our history that we know, our education, our science that we know, because there's going to tie into some cryptids here. Not just the science, but our biological science is tied into people who wrote books 150 years ago.
Correct.
And that is verbatim. And that's where I see a lot of things taking place into the cryptid world, the Bigfoot world, the paranormal world. A lot of this stuff is nobody's new information comes out, but nobody wants to believe it because it goes against what was taught 150 years ago.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
400 years ago, I'll even bring him closer. I'm going to go with about 250 years ago, when England was out there colonizing the world, okay, which is, that's just a natural thing of what people do. And England, the more advanced, of the civilization, technology advanced, I should say, that's what they're going to do. And so when they would go to, like, I'll just use the Native Americans here, for example. So when the settlers are coming across and they were encountering the Native Americans, and the Native Americans are, telling them about the deer and about the bear and about the fox and the rabbit and the moose and the elk and the Sasquatch. Whoa, the what? That was a response. And then it was, oh, you guys are backwoods, you guys are morons, you guys are idiots. False. These, the Native Americans here, this is their land. This is not only their land, this is their backyard. Right. This is their living room. They know what a squirrel looks like. They know what a rabbit looks like. They know what a hawk looks like. So when they say we saw a thunderbird, they know what a condor looks like. So when they go and say we saw a thunderbird, they saw a thunderbird.
Yes.
When they say we saw a Sasquatch, they saw a Sasquatch. Mm-hmm. And the proof is right there in the totem poles. How is it on a totem pole, a Native American totem pole, you're going to have, a deer, an elk, a bear, a Sasquatch represented on this totem pole. And they use them as totems. And so they acknowledge and recognize these creatures. The problem is you had some stuck-up, snobby guys from Oxford who went around the world and goes, you guys are idiots. You're looking at a hippo. These people know what a hippo looks like. You're looking at a weird-looking bear. No, they know what a bear looks like.
Right. It's because we wouldn't see certain creatures in our culture, even where we're at. And, like you're bringing up the totem pole. There were creatures on there that were not a deer, a bear, a hawk, or any of that. It was totally, like, what is that? Like, that looks like an ape.
Exactly. But that's the thing, too, though, the psychic, though, is it because if you think about it, a lot of this started changing right about the late 1700s. Mm-hmm. And actually a little bit before that. And I hate saying it because I don't want to attack any, because I don't want to attack Christians at all whatsoever. And I'm not attacking any Christians. But the big witch hunt and everything that took place going through Europe, they came over here to the New World. A lot of this stuff got snuffed out.
Right.
And that's when it became taboo and it got looked down upon and it got frowned on because it didn't go against a certain type of teaching. And if you look at the history, see, I could go on this rant forever. The history of the Catholicism and the church, the popes could have been married. Nuns and priests could have been married at one point in time. They were able to have other relationships. They were able to do this. The Bible was written in Latin. No one was allowed to really read Latin or speak Latin except for the church. And so when you were going into becoming a priest, you were going to the church, you were taught Latin. And so you could read the Bible and you would tell them what the Bible would say. And that's where like King James came up with it. I could go on I could do a whole episode on King James, to be honest with you, because he not only did he do the Bible, but he also did a book on demons too, though. So there's a lot you got to look at there on that book. Just a heads up. So, but I mean, that's the point I'm trying to get. I mean, but that's where the big taboo came into place at. And I think that now, though, I do think with the use of the internet now, with the world being, it's still a big world, but the world being smaller due to the internet, we're able to get more information quicker. And I think that more people are actually trying to get back in tune in some way with their, our natural abilities. Right.
And that's where spiritualism is a little bit more of it's a broader topic as opposed to religion. So a lot of times too, when I'm talking to clients, I'll go, do you feel that you are more closer, are you more religious or are you more spiritual?
Ooh, can I answer that one?
Sure.
I want you to, I'll let you answer your part. You brought that up. So I get asked, I've been actually accused of not being Christian or not believing in God. Because of what I do, I go look for ghosts. I go look for monsters. I go do these things. I ask questions. I delve into the paranormal, to the cryptids, and I've been accused that I'm going to manifest things. And my comment was, I would love to manifest Bigfoot in my backyard. We'll have a beer together, and no one's going to believe me, but I would love to do that. So, to be honest with you, the research that I've done into cryptids, into the paranormal, always takes me back to one book.
Okay.
And that's the Bible.
Yes.
There is more paranormal, supernatural cryptids in the Bible than any other source out there.
Especially in the Old Testament.
Yes. And I can tell everybody right now, in the Old Testament, when David met Goliath, and he slew Goliath, and David slew him, this was not a metaphor.
No.
They did not write metaphors.
No.
This is a historical document record being put into the book. This is it. And there's more to David and giants into the Bible, but we want to skip over those.
Right.
And so I tell everybody, this brought me closer to God than anything else ever could have.
Correct.
Because not one time did God say, you can't. Anyway, I could ramble on for that one though. But you're right, and I think that being spiritual and religious at the same, and God and close to God are the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Because it's all part of that world of the Creator.
Exactly.
And that's how because I try really hard not to offend people, and I've had people sit down in front of me that are a much stricter religion, but they will get a reading, and I go, you sure you're allowed to do that? Oh, I do it. I said, okay. But, because they will do that outside of their church community. They don't discuss it with anybody that's not safe for them to do that with. But, they'll come to me or other psychics, and they want to know different things.
Right. Well, let me just, I want to throw this out there real quick too, though. And, going back to being spiritual, like you said, with the Creator. And, it just it just clicked into my head. So I got to get out there. It'll be filed away in my 50 million tabs that I have open. And I do have 50 million tabs open 24/7. It drives me nuts.
The same way.
So
don't feel bad.
But, I look at it this way is that, when God was creating us, right, and he was doing, he knew what he was doing. He made us in his image. He knew what he was doing. And when I say he made us in his image, I don't think he didn't make us in his image, but an image that he had of what he wanted. And that's what it means. He created us in his image. I drew a picture in of my image. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So that's the kind of thing right there. So I think that, some of us, we are allowed to have these abilities. This isn't a bad thing to have. This is stuff because, God knew, and we're getting religious on this episode. God knew that we would have to be fighting, obviously, evil spirits, some demonic spirits and stuff like that in the world. And he had to give us the weapons to be able to do it. And the proof, again, is in the Old Testament.
Yes.
And that was through God speaking. And I tell everybody this one now, with the modern day Christian right now, if Jesus was to come back right now today, they would have him locked up in an asylum or in prison.
He would not actually recognize what he started.
Well, I think he knows, but I think that he was return right now and say, okay, guys, you wanted me, I'm back. They wouldn't believe him. He wasn't believed the first time.
Right.
So now that we have the followers, so even when, he did appear, they, when he came back after 3 days, they were still, whoa, okay, it is you. Okay.
Right.
It is you. Now, okay, 2,000 years later, obviously, we really don't know what he looks like. I mean, we have an idea, but that's beside the point. So he returns. Now what? He'll be locked up. They won't recognize him. And they're not going to acknowledge him because that's not what the church said. The church is right. Again, I'm not trying to bash anybody. Churches. Church is a good thing for a lot of folks. It can bring a lot of peace into your life, and you need that. So I'm not trying to bash any churches. Sorry, let's get away from that subject real quick and get back to the psychic thing. Okay, so all right, psychic and medium. Okay,
there is a difference.
Yes. Okay, so real quick on the psychic thing. So, but you can't. Okay, so a psychic's not going to be able to pull out the lottery numbers, right?
Right.
Man, that sucks.
And I have a lot of people. Well, let me put it to you this way: they sometimes will give numbers. And I've had people say to me, oh, well, then you should be able to do that. It's a thing called self-gratification. It's maybe something that you can offer to somebody else, but it's not something that I would get because, like I said, self-gratification. If I knew how to do that, I'd win every lottery.
Yeah, I mean, I could use the numbers. I'm just saying. So,
yeah, but as an example, yes. The difference, like where a medium comes into play, is we also have connections with the other side.
Okay, so yeah, let's go into that one. So, psychics are pretty much, you guys are able to, you're not able to, can you predict it? I mean, because I'll be honest with you, I don't think anybody can actually predict the future. I think you'd be sensitive to certain things that may happen. Because I think, the quote Yoda, one of my favorite puppets, always in motion is the future.
Right.
So I don't think there's any steady thing. I mean, we can plan for the future, but I don't think we can ever fully, predict the future.
Correct. And why that is, it's because we are energy. The world around us is energy. And at times, frequencies and energy can change. Or reality, how like you've seen shows even on movies that will talk even about time travel or things of that nature. If the reality is changed, or if something that may have altered that reality, even energy, a person's energy can change their own reality at the time.
I like that. So, I can unpack a lot of time travel ideas too. Let me pause you real quick before we get to mediumship. It's for a real quick commercial break. So we'll be right back after this. Hang on, folks. I get asked sometimes when I get done squatching, I'm out in the woods, doing paranormal hunting, looking for monsters, how do I like to relax? How do I reload? I like to go down the old bars at Diamond Bear. They're down here at 600 North Broadway Street in North Little Rock, right up the street from Dickey-Stevens Stadium. I enjoy the Mac Daddy. It's macaroni and cheese, a little brisket, everything. I like to have a cold one, have a good time, relax. But the staff is great. They're friendly. They're outgoing. Paul, the chef, is going to make sure that you're going to need a doggy bag on the way home. He's going to load you up. Baker and Bart, the owners, two great guys. You got to go down there and meet them at least. Go down there, check them out. They also allow you to reserve the back room. You can have it for private parties and functions. You can give them a call at 501-406-7819. Again, that's 501-406-7819. Tell them the Drunk Encrypted sent you. I got to be honest, I like doing those commercials. Those are funny. Okay, so welcome back. So a medium. Now, I do not understand a medium. You do talk to the other sides. People have this is people have passed on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes. And a lot of times when I do it, it's like I said, for me, I use cards. So now
when we say cards, are you talking about tarot cards? You're talking about playing cards?
I use what they call oracle cards. They're a little bit different than the actual traditional tarot cards that have the higher and lower arcanas and things like that. Mine is more, sometimes it'll be pictures, or they may have a saying underneath it that way. But that's more or less, it's a guide. But it's more for the person that's in front, because when I have the ability to come through as a medium, I can be in the middle of one part of that reading and talking about, something that may have previously happened recently with somebody, a situation, somebody at work, a family member, and I tune into that person's energy. That's just what I do. Other mediums may do other things. For me, it seems like I hone in on a person's energy. Now, they don't have to be in front of me, like across a table from me. I can do that when I do readings over the phone as well. But for me, that part of changed when I was involved in an accident in 2003. And it was a microburst that hit Cranberry, PA. And I was actually working on a job site. At the time, I was working for Bed Bath & Beyond, and we were doing a job fair.
Okay, so I'm going to pause you real quick. You said a microburst. So for everybody, a microburst is a storm that comes in, and it can almost be like a tornado.
It's a tornado that touches down real quick.
It's just a boom. Yep, straight.
Yep.
And it creates, at that one spot, a lot of damage.
Correct.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
So it was about 4:00 in the afternoon that second day I was on the job site. A beautiful day, 70 degrees on an October day. And we had some clouds that popped up. But all of a sudden, the wind really kicked up. There was no warning of anything. And the next thing I know, I saw things flying around outside. We had just finished up an interview with somebody that was interested in working for us. And the next thing I know, I saw the porta-john that was outside for our construction trailer go flying past the window. And then the trailer started rocking. And the next thing I know, I was in motion, crashing into things, tables, chairs, a drafting table, all those things. I didn't feel it, no pain, but everything went right into immediate slow motion. I had glimpses of tables and, windows and everything else like that. In that moment, when that all happened to me, I knew I was going to die. I probably wouldn't see my family again. And at that time, there wasn't cell phones, weren't as prevalent as they are now. So, and in that moment, I wouldn't have been able to even call 911. Everything just went like it was in seconds. And the last thing I remember was going, like I said, thinking to myself, I'm going to die and I'm never going to see my family again. And my body went limp. I felt myself relax. And right as that was happening, I felt something cup me, like from underneath, from falling. I look at it as I've always had the Archangel Michael has always been my angel since I was a little kid. And what I know about Michael is, angels in themselves, because we have free will, they don't interfere with us unless we give them permission. But Michael is the angel that can, if you're not supposed to be in a place or it's not your time, he will move you. And that's what happened to me. I was moved. It was not my time to die. But from what I understand is that construction site was blown apart, and so was that trailer. And they don't even know where I went. When the winds died down, I came, I guess, crashing back down on the ground, and I hit the siding, the outside siding of an aluminum siding of the trailer. And when I hit it, I actually made an indentation. When I woke up, there was a guy, construction worker, standing over top of me with his shirt, trying to not have the pellets of, I guess, hail or whatever hit me. And it was funny because even when I hit the ground, it wasn't painful. It was almost like, if you fell asleep and somebody nudged you. So there was never any pain when it came to that itself. But pictures I saw later of the site, it looked like a bomb went off. They don't even know how I survived it, and they had no idea where I went until I landed, I guess you could say. But when I had to go through recovery, and I will say I did not have a broken bone. I was just one major tissue mess. Later, I had sight issues. I had a headache. I was finally diagnosed. I did have a concussion. And I did have some head trauma, but I had lost the ability to see things, read stuff. My walking was affected.
Okay, so when you say see things and read stuff, like you had a hard time with your vision?
Yeah, my vision was messed up.
Okay.
To look at a book, like if you looked at a piece of paper and had words on it, the ink, the words would disappear off the page. So my sight was kind of messed up from all that. And I finally was able to get to a place where they did rehab for brain injuries. And when I started working with, the rehab people and even a psychologist, because they were actually, this is where the PTSD came into, there was, meditation, because what they were doing is my brain worked so fast. And like you were saying before, you have tabs that you open up. Well, I have a brain like that. And being that I was a retail manager, you're doing 5 different things at one time. So you're always multitasking. So I have a brain that does that regardless. So they were trying to slow me down to let some of this filter out. And through working with a guy that I was at the time, getting through meditation, some of this stuff started to come back. And that's when I saw the abilities, even like, well, some people will say when they die, they go through a tunnel. I didn't go through a tunnel. What I was experiencing was seeing light, streams of light, because I was being moved. I never saw loved ones waiting for me or was told, it's not your time. I did, however, feel love. I did, however, feel the light that I went through. And I will say, as far as for me, I did get a glimpse of Jesus. So my version of Jesus looks like the short-haired Jesus with a very vibrant blue eyes. That actually, one of the children, there was a couple movies on these kids that had died and came back, but one was an artist, a little 7-year-old girl that painted a beautiful picture that is out there, that I've seen, in prints and things like that of the Jesus that I saw. And I knew it was him because every time I see this picture, I get the chills. So to me, my personal opinion, I know what Jesus looks like. It also, when you talk to other near-death experienced people that have gone through this, we all talk about the light. And the feeling of love is something that we don't understand on earth. It'll make a person cry because it is so pure. It's like, as the person may say, I felt the angels wrap their wings around me. Well, that's part of it. It's that feeling of that is just so overwhelming to what our bodies are used to, but it also feels good at the same time. So with me going through a lot of that, I guess you would say that was where probably a lot of this stuff was released into me. The seeds may have been planted then, or there was some kind of access button that went off in my brain that allowed me to start doing all this. Another thing is, some people will talk about high-pitched noises. Well, we call them downloads. And I get those all the time. I mostly get it on the right side. But if I have a spirit that wants to make themselves present to me, I sometimes will get it on the other side. So I know there's a difference too. So when I talk to people about loved ones, sometimes that happens. Other times they just start talking. So I start hearing or seeing objects, words. Sometimes I'll actually see a word or a phrase, and it's repetitive. And I will tell you, and for any of those that have had any experiences with psychics or mediums, or any mediums that are listening to this, will agree with what I say to a point that if you do not say what that spirit wants you to say on the other end, they will repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. Just like in the movie Ghost with Patrick Swayze, when Whoopi Goldberg would not say what he was saying, he sat there and did that song Henry VIII.
I remember that now, yeah.
It kind of goes like that because they want it said. So they will sit there and repeat it until you do it.
Okay, well, on that note, have you had a spirit to where you didn't know who to give the message to, or like that, and to where it just would drive you nuts? How do you? What do you do in that situation?
I've actually, for me, I just kind of chuckle at times, and I'll say to the person, "Okay, you might think I'm crazy for saying this, but this is what I'm getting, and I'm going to tell you." So I tell them. And a lot of times that person that's sitting across from me or over the phone with me will say, I know exactly who that is. And that, being a medium, when we have those encounters, we are the gateway or the channeler to the other side. We're the bridge. So when they know you can hear, or they know that you're somebody that's there to deliver a message, and we do that to that person we're talking with, and they understand the message or the situation or things, they know. And like I tell people, I see things, I'll feel things, I may get a personality of this individual. So the way I will bring it over to you is how I'm getting it through them. But on the other hand, I never know. For me, it's like I don't plan it. So each person that may sit down in front of me, it is a completely experience that's completely, what you would say would be a raw experience. I'm not, sometimes I may get somebody that might know I'm going to be somewhere and they may be already in my head, but most of the time it's when that person sits down in front of me, that's when it all happens for me in general. But, and I've also told them too, if they ask me questions about somebody that may have passed very recently, or a traumatic death, or a suicide, things like that are very traumatic, that spirit may not always be able to communicate right off the bat. And I think we were talking about this yesterday, you and I. They may have to bring somebody, another spirit guide or a loved one may come with them, because their energy is not balanced yet. And it also too, to keep in mind, is sometimes, like if we've had family members that have passed from illnesses like a cancer or something, and it's been something long term that they've dealt with, when that person passes, the body still has to go, well, not body, the ethereal, the soul part of our bodies also has to go through a cleansing or a healing, because all that does get into their to the soul. It does capture some of that. So it is also something that there's a cleansing that body has to go through in order to be able to do what it's supposed to do next. Also, in cases like a suicide that may happen, sometimes that particular soul has to go through training for dealing with that traumatic experience, because it does go cross over with them, and they have others that will help them with that. But again, it's all about the energy there, because energy is so much faster on that side of the veil compared to where we're at, because we're more in a dense type of reality where they're not. So they have to learn how to use that energy. I will go back again to Ghost, the movie Ghost with Patrick Swayze for a minute. Remember when he was trying to figure out how to move the penny?
He was trying to focus on it and manifest it into there. Okay.
Yeah, he had to learn how to use that energy. So and by learning how to use that, he learned how to communicate with his fiance on the other side. And then that went into the warning of the bad people that killed him. But again, it's all part of training that soul has to do. So I may not necessarily have that person talk to me, but they're standing there. It's the other person that's talking through to me. But again, I will get sometimes dates. I may see the actual thing that happened, good or bad. I feel things sometimes, just like even if somebody's passed from a heart attack. I get heart flutters, and I will be able to tell somebody, well, this person died because of either heart ailment, heart attack, things like that, because either I get the fluttering in the chest or trouble breathing, things like that. So I'm able to pinpoint a particular area. And that way, that person across from me can say, well, yes, they had heart trouble for 20 years. And they said he had a blockage and things like that. So I pick up certain things of it. I may not get a full conversation from the one it passed, but enough information that they're giving me so that the person sitting across or the person talking with me on the phone, they would know, they would recognize. So that's kind of how a medium works, as opposed to what a psychic can do, where a psychic may be focusing on sometimes even a dream, numbers, things that may have just passed, in a person's life, or even some situations that may go forward. That's the difference. So a medium is working with the dead. And like you were saying too, in some circles, religions, things like that, it's frowned upon. So you have to be very delicate too about how you bring that across. And, going back to before the break, I had hit a point about, are you more religious? Are you more spiritual? Because I need to have an idea for them to see how far I can go to explain. But also, I will say to them, I do not want to, be rude or impolite to your belief system. So I get an okay from them. So if somebody says to me, well, I think I'm more spiritual, then I have a little bit broader, I get the green light in a sense to be a little bit more broader about what I may have to explain to them. Because the one thing when I do read or talk with somebody, I'm very big on ethics. I'm very big on, I don't tell them it's something that they want to hear. If they're not comfortable with that subject, then we won't talk about it. If they are comfortable with it, okay. But I try to also teach my client, if they're not sure about certain things, sometimes my readings become a little bit of an education for them too, so that all that information that I'm giving them is not so overwhelming that they miss the message, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does. Yeah, a lot of sense.
Okay.
And right there at the end when you're saying, education for your client, I do think that, some of the psychic, you guys out there that are doing this, the real deal, you are educating people on themselves,
Right.
and you're kind of answering, my fear was, why am I always doing this? Why is this always happening to me? And not realizing it's decisions they've made and they're continuing to make, so you're providing help for folks in a way, that's still considered unconventional, obviously.
Correct.
But, you are still there to provide help. And obviously, like I said before too, emotion is always the future. So a decision that I make an hour from now could change the whole entire outcome of what was supposed to be happening for me.
Correct.
So, I mean, that's where I understand the psychic thing. And, of course, I'm sure you've heard all the jokes already, so I don't have to share them with you. Yeah. Again, my favorite one's the lottery numbers. I mean, hey, again, if you get some, I'm going to be more than happy to have them down here my way. I'm just throwing that out there. So what has been the craziest, let's see here, psychic. Okay, we'll start with one since you you're psychic me. So, what's been the craziest psychic encounter you've had?
I used to get this a lot even when I worked in my real job, I guess you could say, my retail job.
I like that real job. I have a real job too.
People don't look at what we do as real jobs, even though we still use a lot of energy when we do it. So I'll say real job. So everybody's like, so if I have the non-believers out there, they'll understand that.
Oh, yeah.
But, like I used to at times, and it wasn't even thinking. It was just like say, for instance, I was trying to get a job done in so many minutes or a half an hour. And and everything just kept going the opposite way or interruptions. And I'd go, if I don't get this done, we're going to have like 20 people walk through that door right now. And we're going to have our district manager walk right through with it. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. And I'd have one of my coworkers go, "You just said that." I'm like, "Yeah, I know." And then it would happen.
Yes, I would look at him and go, I'm psychic.
Yeah, yeah. And after a while, I started to use that with some of them once they got to know me. I'm like, yeah, that's just me. I'm psychic.
No, I was, even me not being psychic, I would still say that. I'm psychic.
Yeah.
I mean, they can't disprove it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why I said we all have it. We all have that ability in some sort. It's just how we tap into it, too. So that has a lot to do with it as well. But, I've had experiences going into the paranormal because I started a few years back.
Yeah, I was in that. Yeah, I wanted to get into that because
Okay.
I'm curious. So I guess I should have clarified my question, and that's on me, and I apologize for that one.
Oh, sorry.
No. So what I mean by craziest, I mean there's scariest, something scary. I mean, have you had a scary psychic encounter?
I did actually. I was at this school. It was an old schoolhouse that they renovated into like a senior center for like rehab and things like that. And they were having problems in the basement as well as the upper offices. And I had worked with this gentleman on a couple of cases. His name's Ed Kellerman. And he actually writes books on a lot of the ghost stories that are from Pennsylvania, that some of it he's investigated. And he actually has a psychic that he works with. And she has seen me. I had met her the very first time I had worked with Ed on a case. And so I had been invited back a few times. And in this particular facility, she worked there. The crazy part of it is when she was a kid, she went to school there. So she had ties to it in that respect. But her one coworker, her office was the source of a lot of craziness that was happening on the third floor of this building. And it was funny because they asked me to join them, and I did. And I had done this one other time with them. But the night before I got there, actually, when I got off the phone while I was talking to Ed, I actually started to, on a piece of paper, started to sketch out the basement. And like I knew where the boiler room was, and I sketched out some things about the boiler room. And
Okay, so you were remote viewing as well then.
yeah, I was starting.
So you do that as well?
Yes, I remote view.
How cool is that?
Yeah, it is. It is really, it's very cool. But, and it was funny because when I went downstairs, well, actually, I'll back up a minute. So when I got in there to see them and I said, hey guys, I have something I want to show you. I said, and I showed them the basement layout, and they both busted out laughing, and they went to me, you did this stuff the first time we met you, and they start laughing. And the other psychic who works in this building said, you just pretty much mapped out the basement. So we went downstairs. And
so what's funny is I can tell you're getting more comfortable because your Pittsburgh accent's starting to come out. I think it's great.
No.
Keep going. No, I love it. Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm going to try and get you to say go Steelers before we get done with the show, though. But go ahead.
Okay, as long as I don't throw yins in there.
I was waiting for it for an hour and 12 minutes. I'm not going to lie. I've been waiting for yins to come in.
I do not say yins unless I'm being funny, and I'll say it.
That's hilarious. Love it. Because for the Facebook page, I'll comment there, yins, every once in a while. And so some of the people here that are from Pittsburgh, they get a kick out of it. So, yeah, they love hearing their hometown stuff.
Yeah, right. But it's funny because we went into this one section. It was a dark corridor, and there wasn't electricity. So you had to use your flashlights and things like that. Well, I was in there 2 seconds. I had brand new batteries in the flashlight. It went out immediately. And there was such a coldness in this room. And I started walking around. I actually was touched. There was nobody around me. The other people were still by the door. And I had said to them, my flashlight just went on. I had brand new batteries. I had just bought the flashlight, and I put new batteries in. So I had them do that. But it was funny because there was another little side room off to that. And I went down there. I had to use somebody else's flashlight. And as I got closer to it, the air was just getting heavier and heavier. So when we looked up above, I said, tell me something. I said, where does this room lead to? Because I said, I feel the electricity, the energy. I said, because you got a portal right smack in the middle of that room where my flashlight went out. And I said, but you got something else, you got more going on here. And here it turned out that it was the office of the lady that was having all the activity on the third floor. So, but it was funny because we walked all along. There was other rooms and everything else throughout this basement. But it was like every time I'd go back to this one room, I mean, your hair would, stand up on your arms. You could just feel the electricity in the room. So then I said, okay, I need to go upstairs to her office and see what's going on in there. So I go up and we got some of the same feelings in there. But I also saw that she had a mirror facing the window. And I said, well, your portal comes straight up here. It's because of this mirror, which is right up the back wall.
Okay, now let me pause real quick. So you're saying, like, when you're talking about a portal, so neat, because portals are real big right now in the cryptid paranormal world.
Right.
In the cryptid side, it's, portals opening up to the dimensions of the worlds. So when you're saying a portal, are you talking like a portal into, like, the spirit realm or,
Yes.
Okay. So
exactly.
how do those come about?
Well, sometimes people can do that, like I said, with a mirror. A mirror is a portal. It can, so you have to be real careful with mirrors.
You don't want mirrors facing each other or something like that, correct?
Right. Same with facing a window. So I had them take that down because I'll back up to, I also will have, I use dowsing rods. I have copper, very plain dowsing rods. So when I sense or feel, or sometimes even see the energy of a portal, I use my dowsing rods in order to confirm. And I use them and I ask the questions, and I'll repetitively ask the questions. So, to make sure I have the same answer. And then if I have, tech with me, I'll go, okay, bring your stuff over to here. This is where we can start asking questions and talking. And we do that. So I use my rods to do that, but I also use the scientific to back it up. And we get a lot of good stuff come out of that a lot of times. But being touched, I've had my hair touched. I think I was telling you last night, another place I was at, I was in a bedroom of a client that his grandmother and mother both had passed several years before. He himself had a terminal disease, and he didn't have very much time himself, but I was standing next to him, and we got some activity with him, and the grandmother, and I knew it was her because I heard her say who she was, but she was very kind that we were there because you could feel it. And in fact, I had some of our people started to cry, they could feel her presence. But it was funny because she actually it was almost like somebody running their fingers through my hair. Well, I was standing up against a cupboard door. So there was nobody behind me. There was nobody in front of me. To the left was the guy that I said was sick, and he didn't touch me either. And when we went through some of the evidence later, one of the investigators actually had taken pictures of where I was and everything else. And sure enough, there was a cloud over my head, as well as next to him, you were able to make out two faces, and they were feminine faces.
That's crazy.
So it is. It doesn't scare me. I feel good. Like I've done something something good for somebody. and he had gotten questions answered right there on the spot. And I did visit him on several occasions before he passed. I also, because of how terminal his illness was, I actually worked on Reiki with him. I'm also a Reiki practitioner and master, as well as I can teach it if I wanted to. I choose not to teach it right now because I don't feel like it's something that's for me to do.
So, so explain to everybody out there what that is.
That is hands-on healing, or energy healing. A lot of people will do it to, sometimes it's referred to with people that are familiar also with chakras, which are like little energy spots along our bodies. You clear out negative, or you can clear out illnesses. When I do Reiki, I also tend to do readings on people while I'm doing Reiki. So with him, because of his situation, when I sat down and talked to him about it at first, I said to him, I'll do what I can to help you with your pain and things that you're feeling. I said, I frown upon saying I'm healing you, because I'm not. It's what is coming through from the angels and God and all that other stuff. Because I also do something else called IET, which is integrated energy therapy, which is healing with the angels. So archangels, Michael, Raphael, Ariel, angels like that. So my Reiki is actually intertwined with the IET. In his case, what I ended up doing was I was preparing him physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually for his transition. So I had to go about it a different way. What I did was I called in Raphael, and I asked Raphael to guide me with my hands in his energy to go through this man's body and to take out some of the pain, and that if he was going to transition at any time, that transition would not be as painful for him like he was going through. And I got to know him for a good 6 months. He did pass away about 6 months after we met. We had such a connection from the day we met. It was unbelievable. So I felt like when he passed, I lost a lifelong friend. Do you know what I mean? But sometimes that happens when you're given that gift. Even my mediumship, my psychic abilities, the healing modalities that I work with. But I've also learned that with working with the angels, that has really given me a better understanding of what we know as life and what else is out there. That is so far beyond what we could comprehend, if that makes sense.
It does. And you have given me a lot to unpack there.
Okay.
All right.
Another show.
However, you're absolutely right. That's going to have to be another show. Holy cow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Would you be interested in coming back on for a part 2?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. Because this almost could be an hour and a half show, so I'm trying to bring it in for landing real quick. Wow.
I mean, if you want, I can give you, just so you know, to end this show with what my background is real quick.
Well, before you do any of that, okay, so all right, you said you have clients and such like that. So how do people find you?
I do events a lot of times.
Do you have like a website?
Right. Well, actually, right now I don't have a website, but I have Marita Zampano at Verizon.net.
Okay, so spell that real quick.
Marita, then Z like zebra, UM, P like Paul, A and like Nancy, and then O like operator. And that's at Verizon.net.
Okay. So,
And
so they can email you there, right?
they can email me there. I also have a Gmail.
Okay. Fire that one out there.
The same thing, Marita Zampano at gmail.com.
And ladies and gentlemen, I'll post the emails for you guys in the show description. So just go to show description, and I'll make sure that her contact information is in there for you. So if you guys do have questions, so you can reach out to her if you do want to get, questions about a reading and such like that. Yeah, make sure you guys can get a hold of it. Go ahead.
And then you can also find me on Facebook, and I can give you a phone number for that too, if you want me to give that to you later after the show.
I'll let you do that on your own Facebook. Does that mean, only because I don't, you know what I mean? I don't want other people trying to get a hold of you that don't need to get a hold of you.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Okay. Then if they contact me, I can give them that information.
There you go. Yeah, because I generally like to have everybody email me first, and then I go from there.
Okay.
On contacting. That's just me personally.
No, that's fine.
Because there's a lot of crazies out there named Matthew Orton.
Yeah.
I mean, just saying. So, but Marita, I am grateful that you came on the show. I hope you had a good time.
I had an awesome time. I can't believe we've already got an hour and a half, and I didn't even dig into anything.
I know we got a lot more to unpack after yesterday. I'll tell you that. So we are going to schedule a part 2. So everybody, there will be a part 2 coming down the future. I do have some other people scheduled ahead of you, so I will get you into the rotation. But don't go anywhere yet. Let me go ahead and wrap this up. And ladies and gentlemen, that's another episode of the Drunken Cryptids. Remember, if you've had an encounter and you want to come on the show and talk about it, email me, drunkencryptids@gmail.com. Please, and I thank everybody who is giving us the reviews and the ratings out there. I really do. Remember, the contest as of this recording is still going on. By December 15th, if there's 350 subscribers on the YouTube channel, I have to get a mullet. Now, it's already been put out there. If there's 500 subscribers by January 15th, I have to wear a mullet for the live show with the Cryptids of the Corn guys. So I know y'all want to see me in a mullet, so share it with your friends. Again, like, comment, you guys, whatever. It helps the algorithms out there. And the patrons are out there as well. Any help would be appreciated. Whatever interests you, great. If not, understandable. I still love you no matter what. But until next time, everybody, y'all stay safe out there.
I can do anything that I want. I can do anything that I want now. I can do anything that I want. Hey, hey, if it is to be, you know that it's up to me. I'm headed to the front. I can be anything that I want. I can be anything.